In 2008, Iron Man, the first film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU, is released to cinemas, beginning one of the most successful narrative experiments in cinematic history. It would become the cornerstone of both a huge multi-billion-dollar film franchise and of a new style of storytelling. Starting with one simple after-credit sequence, it would establish one of the main features of the MCU and of the modern film franchise: a shared universe.
Mr. Stark, you become part of a bigger universe. You just don't know it yet. Who the hell are you?
Although being explored previously by some horror icons and Kevin Smith's View-esque universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe takes the idea to greater boundaries that had not been reached yet. The MCU utilizes the idea of transmedia storytelling, an idea coined by American media scholar Henry Jenkins. Each film mostly exists as its own standalone story, but the overall saga connects to one larger narrative thread. The main narrative over the past 23 films was the Infinity Saga, concluding with Avengers Endgame. Although technically, it ended with Spider-Man Far From Home, but that was more of an epilogue. The films used the shared universe to introduce different characters and concepts for their full initial debuts. This can be seen through the introduction of Thanos in Guardians of the Galaxy before fully becoming a main villain in Avengers Infinity War, or in the subtle name drop of Stephen Strange in Captain America the Winter Soldier before his full introduction.
Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange, anyone who's a threat to Hydra.
This tactic is employed well because Marvel avoid over-encumbering the viewer with information that they don't need, and only provide these subtle links as more Easter eggs that any invested viewer might look for. They are not required for the enjoyment and rather add to the enjoyment. The only time you really need any of the information from a previous film is in direct sequels, and usually even then, these films still do hold up on their own, although can be slightly confusing if you don't understand who the characters are. But this makes sense because sequels try and continue the story of a character, and not try and tell a new story of a different character. You should watch Iron Man 1 before watching Iron Man 2, but you don't need to watch Iron Man 1 to understand Captain America the First Avenger. But Iron Man 1 is still connected to Captain America the First Avenger through the character of Howard Stark, Tony Stark's father. The scene actually calls back, or forward in some ways, to Iron Man 2 through the similarities of Howard Stark and Tony Stark expos, connecting all three movies to each other in different ways. This means that transmedia storytelling is also letting Marvel explore non-linear storytelling. One of the main reasons this style of storytelling works is because of new media and new technologies. Thanks to us being a globally connected world, we can now talk about the films we see easily. And the increase in digital releases and online content creation lets us tear apart the films we watch and love. So now you can log into YouTube and watch a 10 Things You Missed in an Avengers Infinity War video, which helps to provide a greater understanding of the story universe in itself. A good way to understand how well Marvel utilizes their shared movie universe is by comparing it to another universe that failed. In Sony's The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which adapts the same source material, Sony attempts to emulate what Marvel had already been doing with their MCU. However, this quickly became a cluttered and unkempt mess, as Sony was more focused on future films than the story that the film had to tell. And because of the negative feedback that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 received, eventually Sony handed Spider-Man back to Marvel Studios, where for a third time Spider-Man's story would be retold again, but this time a lot more successfully, focusing more on Spider-Man as a character and less on the picture around him, even if they were leaning a bit too much on using Iron Man within his films. However, the films aren't where the transmedia story world ends. During the main run of the Infinity Saga, Marvel have been producing TV shows, one-shots, and comics related to the MCU, but not directly related to the main Infinity Saga storyline. These would include the network television show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the Netflix-produced Defender shows which include Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist. However, the existence of these Netflix shows also bring another question to the equation. The question of continuity. As the universe has developed, Marvel Studios decided to branch out from just film and start to focus on their own television shows, instead of having other companies produce this media for them. Marvel have ended their deals with Netflix, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has reached its final season. As Marvel turns to Disney Plus to house its television shows, these older shows now exist in a grey area between being part of the universe and not. The shows still exist and refer to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but will no longer be referred to in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the characters that were used in the shows may be reused in different ways that would contradict the currently existing timelines. This is similar to another Disney-owned property, Star Wars, which, before being acquired by Disney, had a huge transmedia universe developed in books, games, and the main films. But After being acquired by Disney, most of this was abandoned, as Disney hoped to create a new universe with new writers, staff, and new storylines to tell. So in one way, these old Netflix shows can be considered part of the canon, as they still exist within the ideas of the universe, but no longer part of the main continuity that we follow. And some of the choices from these Netflix shows may get carried over, just like with Star Wars. Another problem of telling such a huge transmedia story is the conflict of ideas between creators. When multiple different storytellers are trying to tell stories within the same universe, sometimes things may get a bit muddled, and continuity may also get a bit grey. One storyteller may think that a character should act like,
No, I know, but the Bifrost was destroyed. The Nine Realms erupted into chaos, wars were raging, marauders were pillaging. I had to put an end to the slaughter.
while another storyteller may think that a character should act like.
And you and I, we have to fight this really powerful being who also happens to be my sister.
However, Marvel have mostly avoided this by letting certain creators keep to their characters. So when writing Avengers Infinity War, all of the dialogue for the Guardians of the Galaxy was given to director James Gunn. And Thor Ragnarok director Taika Waititi was present on set of Avengers Endgame and Infinity War to make sure that Thor's character lined up with how he acted within his own film. Marvel Studios also uses the numerous creative minds to their advantage, exploring different genres. Normally within a film, you'll stick to one genre that will control the themes of that film. As film has grown, exploring different genres and mashing them together to create new types of stories has become more prevalent. This is how Marvel has grown out of just being superhero films. So Captain America appears in more of a spy thriller than a superhero film.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
And Thor gets to explore a mix between high fantasy and space opera.
We're gonna start a revolution.
Revolution?
I'll explain later.
Who's this guy again?
I'll explain later.
This is especially thanks to some of the creators attached to the Marvel Universe, such as the Russo brothers, who previously worked on genre-mashing sitcom Community, and James Gunn, who wrote the more interesting take on Scooby-Doo in live action. So, in conclusion, Marvel has spent the past decade working on one of the most important narrative experiments in cinematic history. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has helped to remold not just film, but media in general. The idea of a crossover or a shared universe has become a norm within our media consumption, and Marvel has done this successfully with careful detail and smart storytelling that will live for years to come. And their future plans show opportunity for more expansion within the idea of transmedia storytelling, where huge franchises will continue to grow on TV and not just on the big screen.